everyone. Just wanted to pop in real quick and check in with everybody and do a little knowledge about medical astrology. Excuse my notes. I know my handwriting's so sloppy. Anyway, I just, there's a lot going on right now, especially for the month of August. We're having some astrological rare events taking place, along with having 2 full supermoons in the month of August. We had meteor showers last night with a full moon, so you probably might see a bunch of shooting stars this month happening. We also have Lion's Gate opening, which is on the 8th month of the 8th day. Every year, Lion's Gate does open up, and it's pretty amazing stuff, especially if you do have some psychic abilities. When Lion's Gate opens, that's you're going to have intense dreams, but even people who don't have psychic abilities will be affected on the 8th of August. You might start to feel it even towards the end of July and all the way, I think, until August 13th. And then we're going to have another meteor show on the 13th as well. So I just wanted to go over some ancient medical astrology. And, sometimes when you have a doctor, it's just like in a marriage. When you have a doctor and, let's say that you keep getting misdiagnosed with your doctor, or let's say that you're just not getting anywhere with a doctor, right? I mean, you've been seeing the same doctor over and over again, and you're just not getting anywhere. Sometimes there's a reason for that, and honestly, it could be because of the astrology. Just like astrology affects your marriage. There's just some people that you're polar opposite. It either can work very well and, you guys hit it off. But there's also times that it doesn't work out well. This has been around for thousands and thousands of years. Your south node has a lot to do with your health. So if your south node doesn't get along with your doctor's sign or your spouse's sign, your south node, usually that's a warning that you're not going to hit. If your south node doesn't match your spouse, and if your south node doesn't match your doctor, you're probably not going to get anywhere with that doctor. It's just like hitting a wall. Now, I'm not saying for anyone to go out and find a new doctor, but if you're not getting anywhere and you've been to this doctor a few times and just no matter what you do, you guys don't see eye to eye, you're just not getting a proper diagnosis, just happen to ask them what their medical astrology sign is. And believe it or not, a lot of doctors take a little bit of astrology when they, in school. A lot of doctors will not perform planned surgeries on eclipses or full moons. A solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse, they don't mess with it. They don't like to perform surgeries on these days either. So, I mean, it's a lot of doctors, they do, kind of follow that full moon concept about a full moon in the emergency room. It's always crazy during a full moon in an emergency room. Saturn is dark, the sun is light. The Saturn is dry. That's why Saturn, you always kind of have issues with your bones. If you look here on this chart, it shows that Saturn is your knees. So if you're a sign of Capricorn, you might have issues with your bones, your skeletal system, arthritis, osteoarthritis, things like that. And especially your knees. A lot of Capricorns have knee issues and shoulder pain. Bone issues, actually bone spurs, things like that, or bone-on-bone issues. Because Saturn is cold and dry and slow, can mess with your DNA, can mess with your teeth. If you have issues, if you are Capricorn, you can have issues with your teeth. Because Saturn is the planet of DNA. That's why when I do my death astrology charts, I always look to see where Saturn is, because Saturn usually is connected to a person's DNA. It's connected to teeth. It's connected to bones. So your south node, if it's the opposite of your spouse, you're probably going to have issues. So, I mean, sometimes either it's like opposites attract and you guys hit it off, or it's the complete opposite. So, like Scorpio and Aries, they share ancient Mars together. So it's interesting. If your south node is your doctor's sign, sun sign, you might not be, it might be why you're not able to get a diagnosis, you know? It can be a reason. Something to consider. Just gonna go over. Sorry, I'm so shaky. So when your sign is square by someone, sometimes it doesn't work out either. Even when you're caring for somebody that's just got a cold, sometimes it's hard to make them feel better. You just can't get them better, you know? So, if you're square with someone, that can sometimes be a reason why they're not getting any better. So a square is usually you're about, I believe, about 90 degrees apart. So if your sign is 90 degrees apart and you're trying to get somebody better, if you're actually caring for somebody, or if you're a nurse, like a live-in nurse, or something like that, it can be a reason. A quincunx is, I believe, about 150 degrees apart. So again, sometimes it doesn't usually work out because it just won't work out. So any of these opposite signs can either be extremely positive or extremely negative and abrasive, right? So so Saturn is usually dry and it's brittle and it's your bones. The moon is moist. Neptune is usually about a misdiagnosis or miscommunication. So, I mean, it's something to consider. It's something to definitely, you know, just take into consideration. You never know. Anyway, back to the chart. So, you know, usually if you're in Aries, you're going to have issues with the head area. Mercury is your larynx, your voice, your speech, your mouth, your tongue. Venus can be the neck. If you're female, issues with your thyroid, things like that. Gemini is the upper arms. Cancer is the elbow. Gemini is also the wrist. Jupiter is like the upper thighs and a little bit of your sexual organs, but you share your sexual organs with Pluto, Scorpio. Like your vagina, your penis, that's Scorpio. Your sexual organs are Scorpio. Saturn, again, see, it's the knees. It can mess with your knees. It can mess with your shoulders. Anything that's bone related. Bones, skin, and teeth is Saturn. Uranus is Aquarius. That's usually people that have varicose veins, blood clotting in the legs, below the knee, issues with the ankles, and circulatory, like problems with circulation. A lot of Aquarius have issues with circulation. Issues with the veins, specifically. Neptune is the feet. Pisces, the feet. Sun is the solar plexus. The moon, Libra and the moon share a woman's like fallopian tubes and uterus. So, you know, it's just little things like that you can consider, you know. Maybe if you're not hitting it off with your doctor, there might be an astrological reason for why you're not hitting it off with your doctor. And it is something to, you know, something to consider. Jupiter is connected to Sagittarius, and that's usually like your upper thighs can be affected. I don't know, just little things like that. A lot of cancers have issues with thyroid and pituitary glands. And issues with the breast. Childbirth. Issues with childbirth as well, because cancers is about feminine, can be about, the feminine. So Libra is more like the fallopian tubes, but Cancer is more like the uterus, if that makes sense. The moon is connected to your uterus, your breast, your stomach. Virgo is also connected to your stomach. A lot of Virgos have an upset stomach. They have a nervous stomach because they overthink. Virgos are constantly thinking. Geminis are constantly using their voice, so they have issues with throat, your tongue, your hands, your wrists, sometimes the lungs. Mercury has a long association with asthma. Aquarius has a long association. Aquarius and Uranus has a long association with stuff happening with blood clots, the veins, and anything that circulates. How our bodies circulate blood. That's Aquarius. Saturn is bones, skin, and teeth. So that's Capricorn. Gemini is your upper arm. Scorpio is your sexual organs, but also Jupiter, Saturn, or Jupiter and Sagittarius is like your groin area. So that can be like your testicles and your inner thighs. Neptune is Pisces. That's usually associated with your feet. Elbows is Cancer, which is the moon. It's interesting. So it's just something to consider that, if you are having issues with your doctor, maybe just ask them, what's the birthday? Hey, what's your birthday so I can get you a birthday card? Something like that. And then when you go home, go ahead and research it. And, it's, if you can't find it for a doctor, just look it up as a spouse. It's the same issues with a spouse. Like sometimes Cancers and Sagittarius, they don't get along, but they end up working out in a marriage somehow. But Gemini and Sagittarius, you'll usually see a Gemini marry a Sagittarius. Or you'll be attracted to a doctor if you're a Gemini that's a Sagittarius and you don't really know why, but it's there. So it can affect your healing as well. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about that. And how, doctors do respect the full moon. They do respect eclipse season. And, if it's not an emergency and you get a chance to actually schedule your surgery date, before you agree to the surgery date, just Google that date and see, is there a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse, or a full moon on that date? You can Google it and look it up. If they give you a date that's a full moon, ask for another one, unless it's an emergency, okay? If it's an emergency, then you really don't have a choice, okay? But, it is something to consider, guys. So I just wanted to come in and talk to you guys about it, because it is interesting. So the Libra is for like a woman's fallopian tubes. Sorry, my dog is on. And the moon is like her uterus. So Libra, if you're a female, the moon and Libra shares, your fallopian tubes and your uterus. All right, guys, take care. Pay attention to your surroundings. Take care of one another. August is going to be a beautiful month. If you have a telescope, break it out. Because, there's just going to be some amazing things happening in the sky for the month of August. We also have Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde. So a lot of astrologers have been saying that money is going to be tight and that America is kind of teeter-tottering financially right now. So just be careful with your money. it's rare that we have 7 planets in retrograde at the end of August and going into September. 7 planets will be in retrograde, including Venus and Mercury. So that's, how we communicate. There's a lot of shoplifting done during Mercury retrograde. There's a lot of things that happen. Brain fog, because our brains are electrical. Think about that. Messes with the synapses of how your brain communicates. You might have delayed speech. So, and a lot of astrologers, they were already predicting COVID before it even hit. They were talking about a pandemic 2 years before COVID even hit. So, astrologers were warning us about Saturn. And when COVID hit, Saturn went retrograde, meaning that's when Saturn tells you, no, you can't go out. That's the government. Saturn represents the government. It not only represents your bones, your skin, your teeth, your DNA, but it also represents your authority, which is the government. Jupiter is more so the police, but Saturn is more like the judge, the jury, the lawyer. Anyone who works for the government can even be the janitor of the government, how they all work together. That's Saturn. And when Saturn went retrograde, we were forced to stay home. When Saturn came out of retrograde, we were slowly starting to be allowed to let the restrictions were let go when Saturn came out of retrograde. So it is something to consider. Many astrologers were warning us about COVID. So a pandemic. It's interesting because a pandemic does show up in astrology. It can. Actually talks about it in this book a little bit, but I haven't quite figured out. I haven't quite figured it out. So pay attention to your south node. If your south node is your doctor's sun, the opposite of your doctor's sun sign, and you're not getting anywhere. If you have a great, I'm not saying if your doctor and you are polar opposites or, don't match, leave your doctor. I'm saying if you're having a problem with your doctor, it might be interesting to check out what their sign is. And if it is something that, that has a long history of not getting along and being complete polar opposites and it doesn't work out and you're getting misdiagnosed, or, you and your doctor just don't see eye to eye, then it might be worth getting a new doctor. People that are Aquarius, I'm going to tell you should probably keep your legs elevated, lots of fluids. Walking is the best for Aquarius. Neptune, get a lot of sleep. You're the planet that's your daughter and a son of Neptune, and they do need a lot of sleep because their brain is very psychic, and they have a lot of dreams. So it's important for Neptune, for Pisces, to get a lot of rest. Aries has long been associated with hyperthyroid, ADHD, ADD, like OCD. That's been connected to Aries. Taurus is usually the thyroid, the throat, the neck, the ear. Like I said, Gemini affects speech. And you'll find out that most Geminis are great speakers. And if your doctor is a Gemini, they'll be able to communicate very well with you about your medical condition. But, we just did the astrology on Hitler the other day, and he had his 8th house of death in Gemini, meaning he was able to use his voice to harm others. So if you are following someone that is a Gemini, I'd be careful, because they can be very two-faced, and they get what they want. They can use their voice to manipulate others. Virgo, again, has long issues with stomach issues. Leo, having hard issues with high blood pressure. Usually Leos have that red face, can have issues with acne as well. They say that Aquarius should be careful with, taking care of your skin in general. Same with Capricorns. Be careful with your skin. Virgos it's common for them to have diverticulitis. It's very common. And Crohn's disease, liver issues, gallbladder problems. Virgo. because they absorb information and they hold on to it, right? Scorpio is usually long associated with issues with anything that controls your sexual organs, your colon, your bladder, your genitalia, whether it's genitalia inside or outside, your testicles, your vagina, issues like that. And if a Scorpio isn't feeling well, and they feel like they're not well, they're usually not well. Scorpios are very psychic. You should often listen to them. Scorpios can be prone to acne as well because of sweating. Also, Scorpios can have dangerous nosebleeds. Libra, that is part of your fallopian tubes. Also with pregnancy, there are times when it's, your sign, look to see when you're most fertile. Also, Black Moon Lilith is long associated with miscarriage. So if you're looking to get pregnant, always pay attention to Black Moon Lilith as well, where she's at in your chart. All right, I just wanted to top in real quick and talk to you guys about it all. All right, you guys take care. Take care of each other. Remember, the heat's going to be pretty bad, and until we get out of the sun and Saturn being across from Leo, we're just going to have a lot of people being very entitled. So you might run into a Karen or two, a male Karen or a female Karen. Just for the next couple of weeks, just take it really easy, okay? All right. Take care, everyone. The name of this book is Medical Astrology for Health Practitioners. This is for doctors. But there are easier books than this one. This is by Judith Hill. This one was difficult even for me, and I know a lot about astrology. Again, it had a lot of medical terms in here that I had to Google and look up. And a lot of these terms are ancient, from ancient times. So I didn't understand like half the stuff they were talking about. So there are easier medical astrology books that you can check out. All right, take care, everyone. God bless. Take care of each other. Try to stay cool. All right, bye-bye.